this dude, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Adlan Amagov. Yeah, no, he finished a number of guys. He was like a spinning back kick guy, and he fucked me up. And then I think a round or two later, he hit Jon with that spinning back kick.
Did he drop him?
He dropped him.
Oh! They called him the Chechen Wolf, and for a hot minute, it seemed like no one could escape his spinning kicks. Yet at the height of his powers, he vanished. We're talking about Adlan Amagov, the man who floored future champions in training and delivered highlight reel knockouts like it was child's play. But why would a fighter with so much untapped potential walk away just when the UFC world was his for the taking? Stick around, because his story only gets crazier as we go. Amagov's journey began at 19, an age when most pros have been fighting for nearly a decade. It all started with a random street scuffle he witnessed outside his college. Two men scrapped like feral animals, inspiring him to join a gym the very next day. In a matter of months, he proved he wasn't your average late bloomer. Coaches marveled at his agility and raw power. One day, he was clueless about submissions. The next, he was flooring teammates with spinning back kicks like a seasoned pro. But if you think that was impressive, just wait until you hear about his first ever MMA opponent, a man who'd choke out anyone breathing.
And here is Alexey Oleinik, 59th professional fight. I know you follow about.
When Amagov made his professional debut, he found himself locked in a cage with none other than Alexey Oleinik. Yes, that Oleinik, the heavyweight submission wizard who would eventually become a top 10 UFC contender. Imagine stepping onto the biggest stage of your life with a man famous for ending fights in ways no one else dares attempt, like the dreaded Ezekiel choke. It didn't take long for the boa constrictor to drag the rookie into his world. Amagov fought with heart, nearly reversing positions. Yet Oleinik found his favorite choke, and Amagov went out cold rather than tap. It was a grim welcome to the sport, but it also lit a fire in him. He learned that brute strength and flashy moves aren't enough against world-class grapplers, and that brutal lesson only fueled his rise in the Russian promotions. What came next would leave fans and promoters scrambling for a front row seat. The hype around Amagov's striking was deafening. He tore through Russian regional circuits with devastating spinning attacks. One overhand knockout echoed across social media, earning him the call to Strikeforce in the US there. He shared locker rooms with MMA notables. Training sessions were fierce, but everyone started whispering about this mysterious Chechen wolf who unleashed spins and kicks from every angle. In his Strikeforce debut, he battled Ron Stallings in a back-and-forth war, stuffed takedowns, countered leg kicks, and unleashed thunderous spinning back fists. He racked up wins, including a TKO over Anthony Smith, who'd eventually challenge for UFC gold. But the biggest test came when he faced Robbie Lawler. Lawler was already known as one of the most fearsome strikers in the game. Amagov tried to neutralize him with grappling, but a single knee strike changed everything. An illegal knee from Amagov forced a pause, and from that moment on, he looked visibly deflated. Minutes later, Lawler launched a perfectly timed flying knee that ended the night.
On Amagov. Wow, that is some speed.
Still, this heartbreak only set the stage for the next chapter, a training camp that would become MMA folklore. Most fighters quietly deal with the daily grind of sparring. Amagov made headlines. While prepping at the famed Jackson Wink gym, he did the unthinkable. He knocked out former UFC interim welterweight champ Carlos Condit in sparring. Not many believed it at first, until Jon Jones himself revealed that he too had been dropped by Amagov's spinning back kick right to the liver. Jones admitted he'd never felt anything like it. Let that sink in. The greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the world, dropped by a lesser-known welterweight prospect. Word spread like wildfire. Mike Winklejohn and Greg Jackson couldn't stop praising Amagov's ferocity. Fans were bursting with excitement. If he can do that to Jon Jones behind closed doors, imagine what he'd do under the bright UFC lights. Soon enough, the Wolf was unleashed on the welterweight division. Amagov's official UFC debut came against Chris Spang, a Swedish striker who had no idea he was stepping into a whirlwind of hooks, spinning kicks, and takedowns. Amagov overwhelmed him with a relentless pace, transitioning from flashy strikes to wrestling with ease. Judges gave him a decisive nod. Next, TJ Waldberger, a crafty grappler, tried to test Amagov's ground game. Big mistake. Within moments, Amagov launched a spinning attack to the gut, followed by a short left hook that left Waldberger reeling. A few ferocious ground strikes later, the referee had no choice but to stop the fight. Fans were calling him one of the welterweight division's scariest prospects. Greg Jackson even mentioned championship potential. Then, silence. No official fight news, no injury reports, just radio silence that baffled everyone. In late 2013, rumors exploded across MMA forums. Amagov was done at 27 years old with fewer than 20 fights to his name and riding a monstrous wave of hype. He told the world he was walking away. Fans couldn't wrap their heads around it. Religious reasons, some said. Others insisted he simply missed home and didn't want to uproot his family. A few even speculated about behind-the-scenes pay issues or personal conflicts, none of which Amagov ever confirmed. His own explanation was straightforward. He'd achieved everything he initially set out to do. He never pictured himself chasing a UFC belt. Once he realized he could compete at the highest level, that was enough. It was a decision equal parts simple and maddening. How could a man with so many gifts turn his back on the prime of his career? But the story wasn't quite over. 3 years later, in 2016, the Chechen Wolf popped up again, this time in a regional event called S70. Fans collectively lost their minds. Was the Wolf returning for good? Facing a much bigger Brazilian, Amagov reminded everyone he hadn't lost a step. He reversed a throw, took mount, and locked in an armbar, forcing a first-round tap. Just like that, he was gone again. No calls for UFC contracts, no longing for bigger paychecks, just a quiet fade into the background. He competed in a few amateur grappling bouts for fun, a stark contrast to the UFC level wars he waged. To some, it was a cruel tease, like a rock star playing one more encore before leaving forever. When Greg Jackson calls someone championship material, the MMA world pays attention. Adlan Amagov was exactly that, a supremely athletic welterweight who could out-kickbox specialists, out-grapple wrestlers, and shake even Jon Jones in sparring. But he left on his own terms. In a sport where fighters often chase belts until their bodies break down, his decision to walk away healthy might be the ultimate power move, yet questions linger. Could he have captured UFC gold? Could he have become the next dominant welterweight champion, fending off the likes of George St. Pierre or Robbie Lawler in a rematch? We'll never know. What we do know is that for a brief electric moment, Adlan Amagov was the man everyone feared, and that in itself is legendary. If you can't get enough of stories like this, stories about the under-the-radar beasts who shock the MMA world, consider hitting that subscribe button. We've got even crazier fighter tales on the way, and you won't want to miss them. Until next time, fight fans. Keep your guard up and your eyes on the unexpected. After all, you never know which unknown prospect might be the next to drop your favorite fighter in training. Was Amagov's departure a missed opportunity for the sport, or was it the perfect move at the perfect time? Let us know what you think.
In Russian promotion.
Down that time.
Amagov again misses with the left hand.